It is said somewhere in the Greek world a creature exists unlike any other. Some call it a snake, others a monster summoned by the gods to torment us. I call it the Hydra. It's supposed to be 3 buildings tall, 9 heads, and poison enough to kill every citizen of Thebes. Fortunately, it was killed long ago by Heracles. Yet a myth tells the tale of a hero who will discover it once again, who will tame it, and who will ultimately use it to devour his enemies.
No doubt the mentioned hero is me, Achilles, the greatest warrior to walk in this world. No man can challenge me, but the Hydra is no mortal being. If the rumors are true, I will need to make a bargain with the erratic Centaur tribes in my lands. I walked into the forest, pleading my case. Something unusual for a man of my prestige. However, their leader spoke to me mentioning the trials of the Centaurs. Defeat the Olopians to the south, then he will rally the rest of his men for a war of liberation in their fields of Elopia to the north. If I have to gain their trust and support, which is desperately needed to face the Hydra, I must complete these tasks. With that, I was sent off to fight Antilochus, who of course were no match for my skills with weapons. A bash from my shield and a powerful thrust with my spear took him down. Undoubtedly surprised by my ruthless fighting style, the chief Centaur acknowledged my talents as a leader and warrior. He bowed to me, declaring his allegiance for all the gods to see. I became the first man in history to gain their support without completing the trials of the Centaur. As a sign of good faith and for the amusement of myself, I completed the challenge as intended. From here on out, my name alone will spread fear among enemy ranks. Yet, that will only help against mortal beings, not the Hydra. In our united march north to free the fields of Elopia, one of my priests mentioned something terrible had happened. The dead walked among the living once again. Fighting them would teach my men a lesson or two about how to fight superior beings such as the Hydra and myself. This time even I was impressed with my own moves. Killing the dead a second time is a skill only a few men have ever dared to attempt. After studying the place for a while, I learned it was a rare herb that leads to the resurrection of shades, as they are called. I gathered as many as I could carry before using half of them at my own fallen men. With loyal shades and centaurs by my side, our ranks grow stronger by the day. I rode ahead of my men to confront Eumelos, the warlord of Magnesia. As I expected him to duel me then and there, it came as a surprise. He recognized me as a superior fighter. But this wasn't enough for the Centaurs. Demanding justice for their fallen kinsmen, they rushed into Thera, killing both warriors and citizens alike. News of what just happened spread through the wind to every corner of the Greek world. The worst thing is, I didn't even do it. Those damn Centaurs. If I didn't need their talents, I would have punished them myself. Furthermore, as they are riding under my banner, the burden of innocent lives falls on me. Faster than Hermes himself, people began breaking ties with me. I'll just stand alone in this world, I guess. Who cares? I am Achilles. Once I tame the Hydra, as the story says, all shall bow to me again. Speaking of the mighty beast, we finally found a lead to its location. Dripping with poison and laying waste to wherever they walked, a group of men traveled through our lands. Knowing this was our only opportunity to learn something about this snake-like creature, I ordered an early assault on Iolcos. The Centaurs, however, wanted to keep pushing till our task was completed. but after their last trick with the innocent, I had them on a tight leash. I pointed out the importance of this information and how we would finish this job afterwards. This made one of the most honorable of the Centaurs speak harsh words about my destiny. One with glory and death, or another leading to a long but obscure life. I knew he indirectly spoke about my search for the Hydra. Not willing to back down, I embraced my destiny of a glorious future and engaged the poisonous men. We waited till the enemy unexpectedly walked into a valley. Once they did, our men would charge from all sides. On the right, the Centaurs formed their usual wedge, but quickly reformed their line so the archers could stay on a ridge, shooting down into the valley. The lancers and sword units would run behind the deceased warriors and rear-charge them. Poison flew everywhere, from the tips of their spears to their spit. Most of my less experienced units began to rout, but seeing the fearless shades sprint forward, our men rallied once more. Gaining the upper hand on the field, we forced the enemy into the forest where our Centaurs easily could cut them down. I barely lost a man. My troops are slowly proving to be worthy of my leadership. But the best thing of all is what we acquired. One of the Hydra priests got caught by a centaur during their attempt to flee. He speaks of a marsh protected by the Mother. I could only interpret this as the Hydra itself. Ugh, how sick of them to call such a monster their mother. Nonetheless, the priest wished to show us the path to its lair. Obviously, he secretly wanted to feed us to the Hydra. Oh well, as long as we stay on our toes and don't get ambushed by the Hydra, we can still defeat it. We rapidly sailed over to Olison and secured it in the name of our Centaur allies. Phew! Finally some time to rest before our hunt for the Hydra could begin. Or at least, so I thought, till Hector, the Prince of Troy, declared war on us. For what in truth was the Centaurs' fault? I couldn't leave now. If it is a fight they want, I will give it to them. But this also means the need for the Hydra is greater than ever. Hence I organized a small hunting party. They will travel out into the unknown in search of the creature. If they find it, they will call for me, so I can strike it down. With the herbs we found near the shades earlier, it should be possible to resurrect it as our pet, completing the myth foretold. At last, several weeks later, they returned home. My war with the Trojans isn't going as hoped. First getting betrayed by the Thessalians, who I crushed without much trouble. But being true Greeks, they understood an overwhelming force as I was too much for them and surrendered. But Hector and the Dardanians on the other hand, they kept attacking my ports, mostly razing them, but have begun occupying them as well now. This is not for the lack of me trying to stop them, by the way. Whenever I get remotely close to their location, they run back to their small ships, sail to the other end of my territory, just to reverse it once I catch up to them again. The ones I did engage though never had a chance, being run over by the Centaurs. Now they just need to run down a 9-headed snake looking monster. I got told 4 major events happened during their search. First of all, they knew the Hydra lived near the marshes of Lerna, but getting to it was another story on its own. Hence they required the help of the follower of Iolaus. Iolaus was a friend of Heracles after all. They would most likely be a friend of ours too. This gave them 2 renowned bowmen and Malchus, the descendant of Iolaus himself. Supplies needed to be rationed a bit because of this, but overall it was a good thing. The second was the appearance of a strange priest with a cloak made of snake skin and a voice made to make your spine chill. The priest wanted the expedition to join some sort of initiation, but not falling for his small tricks, we threatened them. Angered by this, the so-called snake cult attacked us, leading to minor injuries among our ranks. The third was when the expedition entered the sprawling marshes itself. No doubt the Hydra lived here, but finding it proved to be problematic. We spread out our forces and persevered through the bogs, but using all of our men for scouting is not without consequences, as we just got even more wounded in the process. This led to the fourth event, which was a half-ruined temple. Out of it came the same priest from earlier, giving us the choice of becoming initiated once again. But enough seemed to be enough, as our hunting party decided to burn the temple. It was either that or lose our humanity. All of the followers of Iolaus charged forward to burn down the temple, but in their success, their own doom fell upon them. Malchus, the descendant of Iolaus, was lost. And this is how we ended up where we are today. My men had called for me as they were ready to fight the beast. Every man and monster alike were rallied, ready for battle. Here I hold my speech. In the end, it's just a snake. In the end, these children are poisoned, delusional peasants. Their blood is nasty, true, but I'm sure they can't do without it and will die easily enough if it stops being inside them and splashes on the ground. Just don't get any of it on yourselves. Good advice both for now and when you are relieving yourself in a corner, drunk. Isn't that right? Then I heard it. The hissing noise. All around us. We are completely surrounded with nowhere to go. Maybe the honorable Centaur was right. Well, let me die a glorious death then, and let my name live through eternity. Now we had only one way out. Through victory. The Centaurs and I were stuck right in front of the temple. The hunting party is still far to the south. They are on their own. And here they come. My peasant units will try to intercept one flank, while I will fight alongside the Shades and my Myrmidons. It took a while of endless combat till one of the Centaurs spotted the Hydra near what appeared to be its lair. Although far away, its poison spit could reach all of my men wherever they are. But it slithered straight towards me, pushing away anything in its path. The thing is, as much as it wants me, I want it too. I called all my elite troops to me. The Shades, Centaurs, Myrmidons and the Hydra Priest. We would all cut our way to the Hydra, hoping to overwhelm it. Maybe the hunting party did the same. The number of men we lost in this attack was numerous. But there was no time to mourn our fallen comrades. The Trojans are still making their relentless attacks. I gave the herbs to my priests, who would attempt to bring the Hydra back to life. Meanwhile they did that, I returned south with whatever warriors were still able to fight. Thank Artemis, as she sent one of her beloved animals to assist us. A lesser griffin. May its wings aid us forever. Although they had held their part of the bargain, the Centaurs decided to stay with the army. Apparently they felt sorry for bringing this war to our lands and wanted to make amends. I can't say no to an army of fierce fighters, right? A few days went by. Hector and his loyal soldiers sailed in the Aegean, only a day's break from my shores. This is why it couldn't have been timed more perfectly than this. The Hydra had awoken for the third time. It took all of the herbs we gathered, and now we either needed to find more, or this was his last life. I wanted to test its loyalty. The Shades, who fell once more during the Battle of Lerna, would have done anything for me. There was only one way to test it. A quick belly rip. Oh no. That was a bad idea. It just tried to rip my torso off of my body. Thanks Zeus, I'm the best warrior in the world and therefore able to evade its bite. But it is time to prove it. First I caught Paris off guard. His army didn't really stand a chance. My men were just superior fighters. Every captured man was fed to the Hydra as a reward for his hard work. I preferred Eads, our enemies, than my men. Eads. The priest called it their mother. Is it a she then? From here on out, if it's a she, well, it is time for her to taste the flesh of Hector, as he and his men of giants landed at our beach. Once again I came out on top, mostly thanks to my new favorite toy, the Hydra. Should I call it mother too? No, that is just stupid. As long as the Hydra and I was together, no one could defeat us. But we couldn't be everywhere at once. More and more armies kept pouring in all over the coastline. Hence I began recruiting new generals, who sadly wasn't as good as me and therefore kept losing. Supplies were also a major problem. We needed something to feed our men, and although we had a surplus in reserves from stolen enemy wagons, it was bound to run out. Farms were available in my lands, but the risk of them being lost was too high, so I didn't want to invest in them. Instead, I ended up selling most of our wood production in exchange for food. Enough being enough, I gave my Hydra priest and lesser griffin to a general who was supposed to guard the northern area while I returned south in an attempt to push out Hector's men. Not long after, I got the news. The entire force had been wiped out. I was all that remained. I had never lost a battle and didn't intend on doing so now. After a careful consideration, I realized I only had one option. Just before the battle started, we dipped our weapons and arrows in Hydra blood. If this can't help us, nothing will. Feeling the power to fight the gods themselves, we marched out, expecting this to be our final battle. Outnumbered 4-1, we would use the cliffs to our advantage. Some of our Centaurs had even outmaneuvered the enemy, being able to hit one of their generals off guard. In the center, everything went to shit. The air was filled with a combination of poisoned blood and piss. The good thing is, my name brings out all of this in my enemies by itself.
Your warriors are losing heart. Certainly. Attack!
Our mighty Hydra stood proud and tall among us mortals, eating half of his enemies and squashing the rest. Our alliance with the Centaurs seemed to pay off as they kept fighting no matter how many casualties or wounds they took. As our Centaurs had hunted down the remaining generals, all they kept fighting was their giants. Without hesitation, I charged in, hoping to pierce their hearts in one blow.
Strike them down! Smash them! End them! Retreat! Strike hard!
Using Hydra blood might have been a dirty trick, but not every soldier can be as efficient as I. They just needed help and it worked. We pushed on into the city but lost all of our men as the Hydra blood enhancement had disappeared, forcing us to lay low for a bit, giving the Trojans time to bring more forces over. Hector, however, did actually sign a peace treaty soon after the battle. And after a lot of back and forth, we ended up capturing Lernean of Troy. That is what you get, Paris, for declaring war on me. Finally understanding his mistake, he signed a peace treaty as he should have done a long time ago. Now, all that remained was Aeneas and his Dardanian horde. They were currently besieging Hestia, but by now our Hydra had produced enough poison to create our own super soldiers as per se. Sadly, to my surprise, they got outsmarted and fell in combat. Still, this softened them up for me to appear as the executioner. The Centaur tribes crushed everyone in their paths. Poisonous Hydra spit flew above them, with me already thrusting my spear into the enemy. At last the lands of Pythia was safe. Our Greek and Centaur forces were united under one banner and had never been more powerful than this. No one can deny the importance of the Hydra in this war. The myth of a man taming the nine-headed monster and using it to devour his enemies finally came true. The only thing that worries me now is the words of that one honorable Centaur. My victories here and the tamed Hydra has brought me a glorious future. This just means my demise is just around the corner. But that is a story for someone else to tell.